question. One of the biggest concerns that is continuously growing recently is privacy and security. On one hand, you need to protect the privacy of the users who are using your systems, and on the other hand, one important, relatively under-investigated aspect is what are the threats to privacy and security do new technologies or ubiquitous technologies impose? So, for example, last year we had this work at Kai where we looked into how thermal cameras can be used to infer pins and passwords and patterns that are entered on mobile phones. And yeah, the thing is that you could say, I mean, we got the device that we used for thermal attacks, like for a couple of thousand of euros, but you can actually get a thermal camera for like 200 euros or pounds on Amazon. And in the future, these devices will be really cheaper, and people eventually will be able to use them for malicious intents, so to invade other people's privacy. If you have eye tracking on mobile phones, can I, for example, infer what's the person sitting next to me looking at, or eye movements can tell you things about people's cognitive and neurological disorders. So what kind of privacy invasions could happen once these technologies become ubiquitous? So I think this is one of the very important aspects in the coming years in HCI research. I think that privacy and security is an important topic in the next years. I mean, on one side, as I said, as newer technologies come in, they impose different threats to security and privacy. And also you have other new domains, like for example virtual reality. Now we can do purchases in virtual reality. We can purchase stuff. We can need to identify our or like show our identities. So we need to somewhat, for example, authenticate in these situations. Also, our perception of privacy changes over time. We've all heard about the incident with Facebook some weeks ago, and yeah, if you look at people's privacy concerns nowadays and look like a couple of years back, they have drastically changed, right? So I think this is also one of the biggest topics in the next years, because it's always changing, and we need to adapt to that. Yeah, definitely. Like I'll bring you again an example from usable security. There was this interesting story about a hospital that they wanted to have these portable workstations, so basically a computer that doctors and nurses could use, by moving a device throughout the hospital, and people had to log in to access the data, the sensitive data of the patients and so on. And out of security, people actually, like the designers of the system, they've put some sensors, proximity sensors, so that if the user moves away from the computer, it would automatically log off.
Okay.
And because this is so annoying to the users, they started putting cups in front of the proximity sensors to make sure that the system doesn't lock down. And this, of course, is a very bad thing in terms of security. So this tells you that it's not just security that is important. We need to focus on usability. If the system is secure but not usable enough, nobody will use it, so it's not secure anymore. And I think that this applies to every area in human-computer interaction. You can come up with amazing systems that do amazing things, but if you don't study the human aspect, if you don't see whether people will use it or are willing to use it, or how well people adapt to it, then nobody will use it, and your technology is no longer being it's not serving its purpose. So I think it's important, actually, for building systems, for understanding users, for understanding privacy and security, for also for entrepreneurship as well. Like, I mean, if you're coming up with a new idea, you need to make sure that people will actually use it. So that's where HCI comes into play.